Hey everyone, NanMan here, and we've got another Cube video today. As you guys know, if you've stumbled across this channel, we focus on three main content areas. That's Modern, Commander, and Cube. So we kind of bounce around between different stuff. There's going to be new episodes coming out on Mondays for you guys to check out. We did our draft. If you guys have missed it, of course, you guys can see up there. So you can check out that link and see the picks that we ended up picking. It was a 7-player draft that we ended up doing from the Ravnica cube. You can see links down below as well to see what the full cube looks like. We did exclude certain cubes or certain cards from the cube. Specific guilds like Selesnya was not in this draft. Demir was not in this draft, and Gruul was not in this draft. I go into that in more detail in the draft video, but just wanted to highlight it again. So if you're wondering why certain cards are not visible in the decks that we're going to be seeing in these upcoming episodes, that is why. So we're going to be jumping in and doing commentary. The first round that we're going to be seeing is going to be featuring our Izzet deck, specifically the Izzet OTK style of play that is in the cube, and it's going to be fighting against kind of a Jeskai control style, taking some of the power from the Azorius guild, that blue-white, and taking some of the power from the Boros guild, that red and white, and sort of meshing it into a control shell. But without further ado, guys, let's jump into our commentary. Alright, and my clock has been just ticking away, hasn't it? So let me reset that clock real quick, because, you know, why not? Why not? Well, at this point we were deciding mulligans and all that kind of good stuff here. Let me just restart this. Take text. There we go. Okay, so Steam Vents coming out from our Izzet OTK player. Not going to shock it in. Doesn't have that turn 1 play. Of course, have this basic mountain and no turn 1 play. And if you're used to playing other formats like Modern, for example, you will see a lot more of those turn 1 plays. And if you're not playing something on turn 1, then you are falling behind. But that is not the case when it comes to Cube, especially if you curate your Cube in a slower fashion, where some of the guilds are a little bit slower, some of them are a little bit faster, so we can have different strategies and you can kind of focus on specific things that you want to see in the cube, right? Because everyone likes different things. So as of right now, Izzet player opting to do the Bounceroo to play his Boiler Works, which is, of course, for those that are familiar with it, it's a land that taps for double, in this case a red and a blue, but you have to return a land to do it. So he's trying to accelerate himself out so he can be able to play something later on. And I just, again, rocking the Boros play. If my opponent didn't really know what I was on, seeing this initially, they might think, okay, he's red-white, but where are any of his stuff? And now we're going to see our Izzet player start out by shocking himself, and we'll drop down to 18, and we're going to start things off with one of our weird creatures here. This is, of course, that Blister Coil weird. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, he gets +1/+1 till the end of turn, and untap it. But I know that the deck is light on creatures and all about pumping up specific creatures, so I'm going to attempt to just kill it now on the end step before things get too crazy. And so I'm targeting it with a Helix, and that will be able to resolve, so I'll gain 3 life and end up going up. Now you see we are rocking out the old tablet style of play. 23 to 18, and I've tried to find a way to position it so we can still use it and still see it, and I was like, we'll figure it out at some point. By the end of the match, we'll get it all worked out. So getting rid of one of his creatures is a big deal in his list, because he doesn't have that many. Let me see what's his total here. 6, 7, 8. Alright, so he's about like 10, 11 creatures in his list here, and I'm going to be casting, which Commander All-Star, for some people out there that are in the Boros, it is that Sun Forger equipment Equipped creature gets +4/+0. I can pay a red and a white to unattach Sunforger and search my library for a red or white instant card with converted mana cost 4 or less and play that card without paying its mana cost. Shuffle my library afterward. It does cost 3 to equip. So since I killed off one of his creatures, I felt that I could be able to jump in with this Sunforger and just kind of take a turn off, essentially. And then Islands coming out from our Izzet player. Up to 4 mana here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And drops out that Arc-like Phoenix. So immediately drops back down to 20 life. So all that life gain is now gone. So the reason this Izzet OTK is referred to as an OTK is there's a lot of ways to pump up creatures in the Izzet style, and there's also ways to give creatures double strike or, you know, gravitic punch somebody. So now I'm going to be dropping down one of the powerful creatures for the token strategies that exist within blue in the cube, and that's that Murmuring Mystic. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. It's a 1/5, but if I can get an equipment on it, it becomes a 5/5. All right, another land coming out from our Izzet player. Just a basic island here. Nothing too crazy. So a lot more thinking that needs to go on with the Izzets because of the weirdness of the OTK style of it's basically dump a bunch of pump spells to make a creature really big and then swing and try to kill somebody in one turn. And here's one of those powerful creatures that lets that happen, which is referring to our Flux Channeler guy here. He has this cool ability, Flux Charger, sorry. He's a 1/5 with flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may switch his power and toughness until the end of the turn. The 1/5 flyer is good because you want that evasion. There's no evasion on Jeskai control side, so let's do this. Take 3 down to 17, and there's a War Leader's Helix coming out. So this one, again, just trying to find ways to do some zapping. Gain some more life. War Leader's Helix is very similar to the Lightning Helix, just costs 2 extra here. But again, for what we want to do, I'm dealing 4 damage instead of 3 and gaining 4 life and going up to 21. And because I cast an instant or sorcery, I'm going to go find me a blue illusion bird guy. So taking a second to get my illusion out. And now I have a blocker in case the Izzet player starts doing those flipperoos with his Flux Charger and making it into a 5/1 flyer. Because now he basically, if I decide to block, he can't really afford to swap. Unless he's got ways to increase his toughness, then he's okay. All right. Decisions. Still very close in life totals. Nothing too crazy. I'm basically using a lot of my removal early on to keep a lot of his creatures at bay. It never feels good to hit the Arc-like Phoenix off the board because you know that they probably are running a lot of cantrippy spells to get it back. But he's coming at me with currently a 1/5. And I'm just like, all right, immediately throw the bird in the way. Clear blockers, no problem, not wasting any spells. Don't have to stress about it. Getting rid of more blockers. And I have limited number of flyers in my deck. So being able to utilize instants and sorceries to create blockers is going to be really important for this matchup. All right, up to 6 mana now. Finally catching up to my opponent. And going to be throwing down that equipment because it does cost 3. So now he's a 5/5. And bring in the beats for 5. Decisions time. Does he have a way to interact, mess with me? It's like not really. At this point, we'll take the 5, which is a big swing, right? But now I basically have no blockers unless I have an instant or sorcery. Well, can't be a sorcery, but instant in my hand. So now we can try to keep track of these life totals the correct way. Let's see if we were right on our math. And maybe not. Maybe my life total is at 20. Maybe we weren't right, guys. We'll say it's at 20 to match what's on the table. Alright, Flux Charger coming in. Declaring attacks. So now this is the point where do I have a way to get a blocker? So I'm going to do the unattach and try to find another instant or sorcery. Cost 4 or less. Now, basically to make a blocker here. I've used both of my helixes. Or, no, I'm sorry. It's specifically go find an instant, not a sorcery. So go find an instant, red or white, that costs 4 or less. I don't know if I do this correctly, to be honest. I might go find a non... Yep, I did. I was like, now looking back and rereading the cards and going, So mistake number 1, guys, which again, sometimes that happens when you're playing with cards you don't normally play with. When I play Commander, I don't tend to play red and white, so I have less interaction with Sunforger. But this is nice where I'm trying to cast our Chemister's Insight to draw 2 cards, but the Izzet player has a counterspell ready and will be actually burning me a little bit with that here. So he does have the counterspell and says, nope, ionize, counter it, deal 2 damage. Oh, okay, so I must have been at 21. I don't know, math is hard, guys. Declaring blockers. So cheat step here, or cheat count 1 already, just so we know. The Jeskai control player getting that cheating off Sunforger and getting a non-red or white instant. Sure, if people are watching, I'm already hearing it in the comments, but that's okay. It's nice to help players learn from mistakes. That's part of the fun of doing this stuff on camera. So then you can go, oh, okay, now I know for next time this is not the way this card works. I can do it better this way. So here's where we're starting to drop down some Boros powerhouses. It is our Tajik Blade of the Legion. It's a 4-mana 2/2, but he's indestructible. And if I attack with at least 2 other creature, he gets +5/+5 until the end of turn. So the indestructible part's nice. Attacking with more creatures is going to be tough. And then I think I'm hemming and hawing about equipping Sunforger or leaving mana up for something. It looks like I leaving mana up. Alright, so trying to blast with some board wipe in here, it looked like. Or maybe he was asking if that would affect it or not. Ah, okay, so now I do equip. So it's still my turn. I think I was pointing out, oh, hey, that Mizium Mortars is sweet, but it is sorcery. So you have to wait until your turn to blast all my stuff. So again, a couple hiccups here and there, but we're playing fun Magic right now. We're here to just kind of hang out, draft, battle a little bit with some decks that we don't normally battle with, or play colors that we don't normally play. I was just very sad that I wasn't allowed to play with any of my Dimir cards. Players were like, we don't want to play against Mel this today. Sorry. Alright, so now we're getting into, let's do a bunch of damage, he says. Coming in with this flyer, I'm going to Psychotic Fury, target multicolored creature gains double strike until the end of turn, draw a card. So I basically take 10 damage to the face. And that's where we get into the discussion of, oh, here's basically the OTK power of it. I just took 10 off of this one attack. Main phase 2, playing a land and passing. He's low too, so now it's the question of, do we race? Alright, he doesn't have blockers right now. Is there a way for me to push for extra damage here and still leave mana up to cast something so I can make a blocker off of the Murmuring Mystic? Okay, 3 mana. There we go. So now we're going to... my deck is full of ways to kind of delay. So I have Plumes of Peace, which again, if you're not familiar with some of these older cards, you might not be used to this. It's enchant creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. You can also forecast it and tap something down during your upkeep, but his creature is already tapped down, so I didn't have to worry about it. So now it just kind of keeps him tapped. And now that means the coast is clear for me to push for damage. I don't have 3 creatures, so I can't, like, kill him here. But I could still deal a lot of damage here if I am attacking for 7. Oh, no, we're fighting over it. All right, Counterflux. Still have the counterspell in his hand. Can't be countered. And you get to counter target spell you don't control. I still push for damage. Swing in for 6. Drop him down to 7. If I can make a blocker, I'll be okay here. But I'm down to 6 life. And gotta hope for something. Okay. Niv-Mizzet Parun. The top end bomb of the Izzet guild in this cube. It's a 5/5 flyer, can't be countered. Whenever you draw a card, Niv-Mizzet Parun deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. If you are used to Commander, you know that with the enchantment like Curiosity can let you go infinite. That doesn't happen in here because these are only cards from the 3 Ravnica blocks. But cheat count number 2 is coming out here, where I'm gonna Sunforger again and try to cast an instant or sorcery and get a blocker and get something to happen. I was looking through options and I was pulling aside the response and resurgence, but because they changed the ruling of the CMC of stuff, it's actually a 7 CMC card instead of a 2 and a 5, because even though it's a split card. So but I am cheating again because I'm casting this visions here, it looks like, and basically gonna just kill myself. But it basically is like, I need blockers. This is the only instant in my deck that I can get. I wouldn't have been able to here, but that's all right. It says each player draws 2 cards, which causes me to lose 2 life, go to 8. I cast an instant, so he would draw again. It would basically tie it up at 7. Oh, no, wait. He shoots 1 at the bird that I make. All right. So now, even though cheating a little bit with Sunforger, you're getting an idea of what the deck is trying to do. I mean, I got lucky, I guess, in the sense that I got a lot of my burn spells early, and I didn't have to Sunforge for them, but that is kind of what the Sunforger should be in there for, is for getting those helixes, War Leader Helix and Lightning Helix, not finding all my blue draw spells that I put in my deck. Okay, but this also shows the Izzet deck just kind of build up, and now we're at that spot where everything is scary. All right, he's got Niv Mizzet out. He's got one of his OTK creatures that he can do the switch. I mean, he did 10 damage in 1 turn with it, so you get the idea of what the deck is trying to do here. Okay, in the tank, I guess I'm debating about what is left. What can I do to stabilize or help myself or deal with it? Going to the untap. Don't have 3 creatures anymore, so I can't even try to use my big guy to get in there and push for damage. Hey, some ramp, guys. Boros Signet, in case you needed some more mana. And boom, paying this into this. 1, 2, 3. Equip this onto here. Here's this indestructible 6/2. And I would like to turn your thing into a frog. And he says, no, I would like to give it more toughness, essentially, by saying, hey, he is protected against this with his ability to get +1/+0 and hexproof until the end of turn. And you can overload it and make it so both of his creatures, which, hey, cast a spell. Let's chip away. So he casts 1, I cast 1, so I should actually be at 6, because 2 spells went off, because it's whenever a player, not just your opponent. And so I'm pushing for 6 damage. He's going to block with his Flux Charger, and then it passes back to the Niv Mizzet, the Izzet OTK, and then trigger. Whenever you draw a card, deals 1 damage. Technically, I should be at 5. And now the question is he just swing in? On camera, you can see the life totals appear to be 7 and 6, so it's like, okay, what can I do? And he says, well, I'll quicken. So that casts a spell, and he draws a card. So I think we're only counting it as one opponent instead of him. So I should lose 2 life here and get even closer. 3 life. We're going to say it 3, even though it's 5. So now it's, I think we're now fixing it, but we'll say it. We'll keep a track with the phone just so it's all good. And he says, all right, move to combat. Now I'm going to try to deal 5 damage to that creature, target attacking creature. It's like you use one of your protections. Do you have the other one? And he says, all right, well, you get a draw card. I lose a life. Loop. Not 4/3. Alright, so he's got Surge Strike. Target creature gets +3/+0, gains first strike until the end of the turn. That's another spell. And then he says, okay, well, I also have this lovely spell to give my guy flying. Just so happens that maximum altitude was in my hand. So I'm just basically casting all these spells to burn you. And I'm at 3 life. I'm way dead at this point. So it's like we can switch it to 0. But this shows you just like it's all these switcheroos, these pump spells that you can just get in and do stuff. All right, so we do some messing with stuff. Bink, 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 bink. That's where I'm. Oh, I'm way dead. So that was the first round, first game, guys. There is, of course, a second game that you guys can be able to watch, but we're going to stop it after that first game so you guys can be able to enjoy it, and we'll be posting up the next game later on in a couple weeks there. But there is, of course, here's a little sneak peek where we do get to see what the Izzet deck looks like. But thanks for tuning in and watching, guys. If you want to see more about this deck and the other decks in the draft, stay tuned. Hit the subscribe and follow and all that kind of good stuff. Thanks for tuning in and watching, guys. NanMan here. I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out about all the other great content that is on all the channels that I've been producing. So if you guys are watching Magic related stuff, you know that on Modern Magic Mondays YouTube channel, we do have, of course, Modern content. We've got Commander content and Cube content. There's also a podcast that kind of highlights different stuff that I'm doing in that scene, as well as kind of just other gaming related stuff. And that is, of course, NanMan's Nerd Corner. You can see that wherever podcasts are found. Of course, on my original gaming channel for YouTube, youtube.com/NanMan. You can be able to see video game stuff. There's Sea of Thieves content, Minecraft, lots of StarCraft stuff. There's a history, a look back at StarCraft 2 that kind of goes through the history of the start of esports, pretty much the explosion from 2010. So you guys can check out that sort of content. If you're liking this sort of stuff, you guys can also show additional support over on the Patreon. Of course, that is patreon.com/TheRealNanMan. Twitter is the same sort of deal, @TheRealNanMan. You guys can, of course, find all the links to all the content and all the stuff that I'm doing down below. But the best way to show those supports, guys, is to hit those subscribes, the follows, all that kind of good stuff. Spread the word. Let people know about all the cool stuff that I've got going on here. But thanks for tuning in and watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next game.